Good morning, friends. We're now going to read the second half of Sylvester and the Magic Pebble. I know I told you it's one of my favorite stories. My children loved it, and I've always kept this book hoping that I get to read it again. So now I am, and it makes me so happy. But before we start, let's say hello to Abby. She's sitting right next to me, as she always does. She's my shadow. Anyway, so I'm going to put the book down. Here she is. Uh-oh. She's not asleep. Are you asleep, Abby? I don't think so. She still has the bows in her hair. She's looking pretty good for an older dog. We took a walk this morning before it rained. Abby, can you get up and say hello? No, she's not going to say hello. Okay, we'll try later. So here we go. Springtime has come. There's Sylvester. He's still a rock. And there's the Magic Pebble. Okay, here we go. Then the snow melted. The earth warmed up in the spring sun and things budded. Leaves were on the trees again. Flowers showed their young faces. One day in May, Mr. Duncan insisted that his wife go with him on a picnic. Let's cheer up, he said. Let us try to live again and be happy. Even though Sylvester, our angel, is no longer with us, they went to Strawberry Hill. Mrs. Duncan sat down on the rock. There she is, sitting on Sylvester. The warmth of his own mother sitting on him woke Sylvester up from his deep winter sleep. How he wanted to shout, "Mother, Father, it's me, I'm here, right here." But he couldn't talk. He had no voice. He was stone dumb. There they are. You see their picnic basket. There's Mr. Duncan putting up the umbrella. And there's Mom. She has a bandana around her neck. Look at that. She has a bandana. She's sitting on the rock. And there's the pebble. The pebble is still right there. Okay, let's turn the page. Mr. Duncan walked aimlessly about while Mrs. Duncan set out the picnic food on the rock. All kinds of things that they love. Alfalfa sandwiches, oats, sassafras. Suddenly, Mr. Duncan saw the red pebble. "Oh, look at this pebble," he said. "It's fantastic. Sylvester would have loved it for his collection." Remember, Sylvester collected pebbles. He put the pebble on the rock. Oh, that's what needed to happen. There's the pebble right there. And there's Mrs. Duncan with her bandana. We know what a bandana is. They sat down to eat. Sylvester was fully awake now. His parents were right near him. "You know, Father," Mrs. Duncan said suddenly, "I have the strangest feeling that our dear Sylvester is still alive and not far away." I am, Sylvester cried. But no one could hear him. And he saw and he felt that the pebble was resting on his back. The Magic Pebble was on his back. There it is, right there. "Oh, how I wish he were here with us on this lovely spring day," said Mrs. Duncan. Mr. Duncan looked sadly at the ground. "Don't you wish it too, Father?" she said. He looked at her as if to say, "How can you ask such a question?" Mr. and Mrs. Duncan looked at each other with great sorrow. "I wish I were myself again. I wish I were my real self again," thought Sylvester. And in less than an instant, Sylvester turned into himself. He was no longer a rock, and all of the plates were on his back, and his father and his mother were cheering. You can imagine the scene of Duncan, Mr. and Mrs. Duncan with Sylvester. They hugged and kissed. The questions, the answers, the loving looks, and the fond exclamations. Oh, they're so happy. Look at this, sun is out. Mrs. Duncan is hugging Sylvester. Do you see a tear? There's Mr. Duncan. He's cheering. They're so excited. They're so surprised. And here's the last page. They're hugging each other. When they had eventually calmed down a bit and had gotten home, Mr. Duncan put the magic pebble in an iron safe. Someday they may want to use it, but really for now, what more could they wish for? They all had all that they wanted. The end. There's Sylvester hugging his mom. His mom is hugging their father, and the father is hugging Sylvester. They're sitting on the sofa, and they know that that's the most important thing. They don't need to wish for anything else. They're all back together. And that's the end of Sylvester and the Magic Pebble. Okay, friends. I love that book. I'm so glad we could be together. One last look at Abby. Abby, can you look over here? Oh no. She's being shy. She's not going to move her head. But she's with us. And I'm so glad we got to be together today. It's so much fun to read to you. You know how I love it. I'm going to look for my Mother Goose book so we can go over and read nursery rhymes. And maybe you could read the nursery rhymes with me. Not read them, but I know you know lots of them. So when I say them, you say them too. Okay? I love you. I'll be back tomorrow. Okay? Bye, friends. Bye.